Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon to those of you joining us from the continent. Just allowing a few minutes for everybody who was in the waiting room to join us. Great. Thank you so much. As I said, it's a pleasure to welcome all of you this morning. I'm speaking to you from Barbados. My name is Natasha Edwin Walcott. I am the Senior Advisor for Competitiveness and Export Promotion at Caribbean Export Development Agency. And I have the honor of moderating this informational webinar today on the Afreximbank, the African Export-Import Bank's MANSA digital platform. I'm especially pleased that we at Caribbean Export are able to partner with our friends from the bank, both here in Barbados and, of course, Cairo, Egypt. I would like to offer a special welcome to Mr. Raymond Ward, who is the Assistant Manager, Client Relations at the Caribbean Office of the African Export-Import Bank, and of course, Mrs. Maureen Mbab, who is the head of MANSA, along with colleagues from Barbados and Cairo, who have so ably assisted us to host this session today. We had, as of this morning, over 250 registrants from the Caribbean and the continent. So I know this initiative is one that is very much welcomed. There have been some seminal developments in this Caribbean-Africa relationship. In recent years, Caribbean-Africa relations have been building momentum. We remember in 2021, the inaugural Caribbean Community Africa Summit that was held virtually under the theme Unity Across Continents and Oceans, Opportunities for Deepening Integration. This summit reinvigorated relations between the two regions. Since then, there have been some advancements, both politically and economically. Some CARICOM countries at the national level have established diplomatic relations in some African states, and similarly, African countries have established a presence here in the region. In addition, we've hosted several heads of state from African countries over the last few years. And in the case of Caribbean presidents and prime ministers, they too have welcomed on the continent, have been welcomed on the continent in recent times. At the center of all of this, the Afreximbank has played a critical role in some of those exchanges. And Caribbean Export, we have been thrilled to be part of that developing story, having been present at every one of the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Fora held in 2022 in Barbados, 2023 in Guyana, and earlier this year in Bahamas. And that at that Bahamas event, Caribbean Export signed a memorandum of understanding with the Afreximbank, which sets the framework for us to continue to enhance the trade and investment relationship. Economically, Africa's growing economy has garnered significant investment in non-traditional sectors, with many cities having established themselves as innovation hubs with significant inward investment in smart technologies. Moreover, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area boasts the largest free trade area in the world with 54 signatories and a projected income boost of US 450 billion by 2035, projected to lift 30 million people out of poverty. So given those economic realities, Caribbean Export is well positioned and really thrilled to assist the private sector from both the continent and indeed the Caribbean to make informed business decisions. And this is exactly why we're here to hear from the bank on one of their flagship initiatives, the MANSA Platform. So with those brief remarks, I will turn over to Raymond, who will bring the welcome from the bank's Caribbean office.
Good morning and good evening to some of you, and thank you, Natasha, for your kind introduction. My name is Raymond Ward. I'm the Assistant Manager of Client Relations here in our CARICOM office for Afreximbank, and I just want to welcome you to our webinar today entitled Introducing the MANSA Digital Initiative to the Caribbean Community. The theme today for our webinar is Go Global with MANSA. I would like to thank the team at Caribbean Export for their ongoing partnership with Afreximbank and for the efforts in supporting this webinar. I also want to thank our head of MANSA, Mrs. Maureen Mba, and her team for their support of the Caribbean office by delivering today's presentation, and Dr. Mohammed Hafez, CEO of Tathi Healthcare, for his continued partnership and participation in today's presentation. In August of 2023, Afreximbank officially opened its Caribbean office to support the implementation of the partnership agreement between Afreximbank and CARICOM member states, aimed at expanding Africa-Caribbean trade and investment relations. This move was a significant part of our efforts to promote and develop trade between Africa and the Caribbean, in line with our diaspora strategy and the African Union's designation of the African diaspora as Africa's sixth region. Since the establishment of our office in the Caribbean, we've been introducing Afreximbank's products and initiatives to the business community to ensure that we fulfill that mandate to promote trade and provide access to initiatives aimed at enhancing mutually identified priorities. To date, we have disbursed 2 facilities within the region, one being a US $25 million loan to support the redevelopment of the Kensington Oval. Here in Barbados, some of you may have gone to some of those matches and enjoyed the benefits of that facility. And so we helped them to prepare for the 2024 Cricket World Cup, including the hosting of the finals. And the facility also allowed for the further development of the complex to become a world-class venue for hosting sporting and non-sporting events. We've also extended a US $6 million education rehab climate-linked facility to the government of St. Lucia, and that was in support of the rehabilitation of about 25 schools which suffered damage during Tropical Storm Brett. The country was severely affected, and we were happy to be able to come in and support where it mattered most. We have been actively engaged with the business community across CARICOM subsequent to those disbursements, and we're building a healthy pipeline of opportunities as we present our initiatives and our products to the Caribbean community. We're hoping that these initiatives can drive growth and prosperity across various sectors. So on that basis, we are happy and pleased to use this webinar as an opportunity to introduce our audience today to MANSA, one of our successful digital initiatives currently being used widely across the continent, with the hopes that we can provide this service to the benefit of the Caribbean community. MANSA is a centralized Pan-African, and I could also say Afro-Caribbean, it is a centralized Pan-African and Caribbean due diligence repository platform developed to restore investor confidence in dealings with African counterparties. To date, we have over 24,000 verified entities, making it the largest database on the continent with detailed primary data to conduct due diligence on African entities. Each MANSA verified entity is assigned a unique code that serves as an indication of meeting MANSA's comprehensive due diligence requirements. With its integration agreement with the Global Legal Entity Identifier Foundation, these African entities also earn the global recognition and access to funding support. MANSA also offers value-added services, including AML and CFT managed services, which offers full-scope KYC that includes screening for sanctions, politically exposed persons, and adverse media. MANSA has contributed immensely to promoting sustainable trade for its members across the continent, and we want to extend those benefits to the Caribbean region and global Africa. We're truly excited about today's webinar, and I encourage you to be actively engaged. I know you will have lots of questions, and we look forward to those questions and our comments. So without any further delay, please allow me to introduce you to our head of MANSA, Mrs. Maureen Ba, to give you an overview of the MANSA Digital Initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. Thank you, Natasha, for those warming, welcoming words. And I think I can say it better. We are really, really thrilled and overwhelmed to be part of this August gathering. And for us to be part of it, we have actually told ourselves that we are a one family. And we have actually changed, or we have had that paradigm shift of saying we are now Afri-Carib. That's how we address ourselves, and we say go global. Or our last annual meeting strap line was Afreximbank, go global, Afreximbank, global Africa, global Africa. So on that note, may I just say thank you very much, distinguished colleagues and friends and partners. On behalf of the executive management, management and staff of Afreximbank, dubbed Afreximbank, I convey to you our fraternal greetings and best wishes as we approach the Yuletide. It is indeed a great honor to be part of this important webinar, and I would like to acknowledge the incredible efforts of our event organizers, the Caribbean Export Development Agency, Carib Export. Your commitment to excellence is what brings our community closer and make events like these a resounding success. This is significant, especially given the great potential of Afro-Caribbean trade, particularly the vast business opportunities that remained underexploited and untapped in both Africa and the Caribbean. Distinguished colleagues, partners, today marks the beginning of a new era, of a new chapter in our relationship. I will speak briefly about the MANSA Digital Initiative before my colleagues will walk you through a comprehensive presentation. I know Raymond had already gone ahead to say a lot about MANSA. The platform MANSA is a timely and highly relevant intervention of the bank, given the critical role that innovation and technology play in transforming the world, especially at a time when Afro-Caribbean countries feel the acute need to explore alternative ways and means to develop trade among themselves in an effort to achieve accelerated growth and development to structurally transform our economies. In an increasing globalized world where success requires innovation, product differentiation, and competitiveness, digital technology like the MANSA repository platform becomes even more and more important, and especially so for Afro-Caribbean, a region that aspires to expand trade, enhance competitiveness, and of course, integrate into global value chain. Distinguished colleagues, partners, before I proceed, it is pertinent to inform you that at our annual meetings in Accra, Ghana in June 2023, when the bank celebrated its 30th anniversary, we officially launched the African Trade Gateway. It's a digital marketplace that provides a confluence point for governments and trade enabling institutions to gain first-hand information and primary data to influence industry changes that will ease barriers and simplify digital trade. This journey started under our fifth strategic plan with the development of our first digital intervention, our due diligence data platform, MANSA, in 2018, officially launched, and operationally launched in 2020. To be precise, November 30th, at the peak of the pandemic. Distinguished colleagues, this journey in January 2022, alongside our partners, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement and the African Union Commission and the region's central bank, we launched the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System and then went on to partner with UNECA and thereafter to introduce ATEX, the digital marketplace for business to business and business to government trades. We also introduced the trader and trade data intelligence and trade regulatory platforms with its membership service, Trader Club. Excuse me. Allow me to tell you a bit more about each platform. MANSA is a due diligence data platform developed to restore investors' confidence in dealings with African Caribbean counterparties. With over 24,000 plus verified African entities. It suffices to inform you that today we have only one Caribbean contributor on MANSA, which is a bank. And today, you will say that MANSA is the largest database in the continent with detailed primary data to conduct due diligence on African entity. Each of the entities, like my colleague Raymond alluded to, is assigned a unique identifier. We call it the Africa Caribbean Entity Identifier Code that serves as an indication of meeting MANSA's comprehensive due diligence requirements. And with its integration agreement with Global Legal Entity Identifier Foundation, these African Caribbean entities will also earn global recognition and global reputation. MANSA also offers value-added services such as AML-CFT managed services, which offers a full scope of KYC that includes screening for sanctions, politically exposed persons, and of course, adverse media reports, including other AML-CFT services. We see MANSA contributing immensely to promoting intra-African trade and sustainable trade across the continent. MANSA has also introduced white labeling, MANSA Cooperative, MANSA Training and Capacity Building, and others that are aimed at improving trade in Africa. ATEX, the African Trade Exchange, developed and launched in partnership with UNECA and after. ATEX is a business-to-business and business-to-government e-commerce platform that brings together buyers and sellers of goods in trade that is underpinned by the AFTA rules of origin. ATEX supports the entire trade process from verification through to execution with trade finance solutions and payments provided by Afreximbank and other financial services providers. We also have the PAPS, which is the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, that had a mission to make it easier, cheaper, and safer to conduct instant cross-border payments in local African currencies. And it suffices to inform you that for you to be able to transact on our PAPS system, you must be MANSA verified. You must present your AEI code, which is the African Caribbean Entity Identifier. This centralized financial market infrastructure links central banks, commercial banks, payment service providers, and governments with 13 African markets already onboarded. And thanks to the new commercial bank settlement model recently introduced, we now expect acceleration market adoption. And of course, the Caribbean states have also endorsed the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. The Trader Club is a member-driven network of international businesses and executives anchored by Afreximbank Trade Intelligence Solutions. Trader Club members are provided access and integrated trade intelligence offerings that combines digital assets, curated trade intelligence and advisory services with relevant capacity development, training, and network opportunities. My distinguished colleagues, partners, and business colleagues, each one of our digital interventions is designed to address clearly identified challenges and barriers for those seeking to engage in trade and investment across Africa and the Caribbean states. I am pleased that each intervention has been successfully transformed from concept to reality and commend the hard work of our colleagues and partners in achieving these milestones. Allow me to put into perspective why the role of our digital initiative MANSA is critical to the success of Afro-Caribbean trade. The World Economic Forum in 2023 reports that trade finance gap is now 1.7 trillion globally, with SMEs disproportionately affected by this shortfall. According to the Economist Intelligence Unit, the Economic Intelligence Unit 2024, approximately 40% of correspondent banks have withdrawn from the Caribbean over the past 15 years, which has decreased the access of the region to international finance and credit. According to a survey of more than 600 commercial banks across 49 African markets conducted jointly by Africa Development Bank and the African Export Bank between 2011 and 2019, it was observed that one, competition, know your customer, and anti-money laundering, AML regulations, etc., have increased due diligence costs and eating into margins, making smaller transactions unprofitable for banks operating across the continent. 16% of banks in trade finance listed KYC AML compliance as the key motive for not approving trade finance applications in the period from 2015 to 2019, compared with less than 1% in 2013-2014. In 2022, Deloitte and Touche released a report stating that credit and financial institutions were fined nearly 15 billion for various issues related to anti-money laundering, sanctions breaches, and of course deficiencies in the KYC systems. This brought the total amount of fines imposed since the global financial crisis to almost 55 billion. Distinguished colleagues, given the above, it should be noted that MANSA provides a catalyst that will support trade and help governments and entities to comply with global information requirements. MANSA provides an efficient KYC solution to prevent the huge regulatory fines that several countries and entities have been subjected to in recent years. Also, ensuring the availability of due diligence information, MANSA helps to eliminate subjective evaluation of customers and reduce the perceived risk of trading with African counterparties. Colleagues, before I conclude, I would like to remind you that an improved regulatory compliance system for the Afro-Caribbean region through the implementation of enhanced KYC, CDD, and AML practices would have positive impact on trade. This will complement the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, leading to enhanced cross-border transactions and regional and economic integration. African countries and the Caribbean states and organizations must embrace MANSA as the panacea to overcome the challenges of legacy due diligence practices and a catalyst for intra-Afro-Caribbean trade growth. It is also important to recognize that MANSA is a trusted platform in Africa, in the African continent, as evidenced by its endorsement by both the Association of African Central Banks, the African Union. We urge us all today to note the importance of this significant initiative that Afreximbank has put in place to support our financial institutions, corporate entities, and of course the SMEs and others. My distinguished honored colleagues, I would like to close my remarks by reiterating that although more needs to be done for the level of Afro-Caribbean trade to be comparable to other regions, it will be important to acknowledge that Afreximbank has been investing in trade enabling infrastructure health infrastructure, transport, and digital technology to promote trade and commerce, particularly with the active participation of governments, central banks, financial institutions, private sectors, and other stakeholders. The bank will remain vigilant and resolute, embracing new and emerging digital technologies, of course, harnessing their potential to further enhance our service offerings and ensure that we continue to unlock the full potential of Afro-Caribbean trade, investment, and commerce. In so doing, we shape and write the future of our region. Thank you for your attention. On this note, I submit.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Thank you for that. And of course, to Raymond to give the overview of what the bank has been doing in the region, but also your detailed overview of the MANSA initiative. So at this point, I'd like to invite Tatenda. And then we also have Mrs. Gamuchirai Moyo, and they will essentially take us through the platform.
Thank you very much, Natasha. Please, you can confirm when you can see my screen.
Yes, great. Just maximize and we're good.
Okay.
Perfect.
Is it maximized now? Perfect.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I would like to thank you, Natasha. I would also like to thank the speakers that spoke before me. We have Raymond and Head MANSA. So I will just quickly take you through the MANSA pillars, and then we'll go through the onboarding process, and then my colleague Gam will come and speak about the MANSA services. So the MANSA Digital Initiative has got 3 pillars. The first pillar and the main pillar for that matter is the customer due diligence pillar. So this is where you find information about entities. So we have the entities from Africa. We also have entities from the Caribbean. So currently, as alluded earlier by Head MANSA, we have 24,520 plus entities that are on the customer due diligence pillar. And please, I would like to let you know that onboarding your information on this platform is completely free of charge. We don't charge you to put your information. So we are creating the visibility of your entity free of charge. The second pillar that we have is called the Invest in Africa pillar. So under this pillar, it provides primary relevant information. So this is information that can assist in making investment decisions. So be it your investors or even yourselves, you want to enter into new markets, the information is there. So information that you see are the trade information links. We have all the 55 African investment promotion centers on the platform. So you just have to click on the link and then it takes you to a specific country. For example, let's say you want to go and learn more about investing in Ghana. So you click the Ghana flag and then it takes you to a country profile for Ghana. There you are able to see information such as the exchange rate, the inflation rate, the GDP, you can also see information like the population, etc. Information that will also help you to make investment decisions into certain African states. And then we also have what we call the news and events pillar. So this one now, it just houses news and events. So also publications about the MANSA platform, about the bank, and then also anything related to compliance and investing in Africa. So I'll just take you through the MANSA onboarding process. And this is a very simple process. So as a contributor putting your information on the platform, we'll give you what we call a maker and a checker profile. So whenever you want to make changes to the profile, maybe let's say updates, you can do that at your own comfort, and then the verifier just verifies. So the first stage is the contributor, which is the entity that is putting the information on the platform. So you can either do this on your own, or we can even assist you to do the onboarding from our end. This process is very short. I think for onboarding, it will take you less than 10 minutes. You should be done with putting information. I think we'll go to the next slide where we'll see more, but on this one, I'll just move to the next stage, which is the verifier. So the verifier is the entity that then verifies the information that has been contributed on the platform. So we do have partnerships that we have, like you can see the partnership that we have with the Caribbean Export, and we also even have some entities like in Africa here. We have partners in all of the 55 African countries that help us to do verifications of the information that we are putting on the platform. So we do have entities like central banks. Currently, we have 12 central banks in Africa that are helping us to also verify information about the entities that they supervise in their jurisdictions. And then for us as Afreximbank, what we then do is we then do an independent verification check just to check if the information is accurate and complete, and then we publish it. So once we publish it, it then goes to the subscribers. The subscribers now are your cross-border traders, so it can be Afro-Caribbean entities, it can be global entities, it can be multilateral entities, it can be an investor who is also seeking investment opportunities in a different country, and then they just get to view entities that are listed in a particular entity, in a particular country, sorry. So this is the information that we collect to have a profile on MANSA. So on the far right, you can see that is a complete profile. Now we have the logo there, and then we have the name, and then we have just a brief description about the entity. But the information that we then collect is what you see on the left side. So we collect 6 clusters of information. We collect the identification information, where you will see the name of the entity, the registered address, also the contact details there, and then we collect ownership and management information. So this is like your executive management, your board of directors, your shareholders, your UBOs, and then under business information, this is also one of the key clusters that we have there. This is where you are going to list all the products that you engage in, products and services, so that anyone who is coming to also view this profile, they'll be able to see everything that you offer, so that when they engage you, they're engaging you with a particular offer of maybe doing business together. And then we have what we call the compliance information section. So here we have a questionnaire that we have on the platform. So the questionnaire differs. If it's a SME, then it's a questionnaire with about 8 questions. So it's just yes, no. But in brief, entities are just attesting that they are complying with anti-money laundering and combating or financing of terrorism regulations in the countries that they are operating in. And if it's for corporates, then the questionnaire is something like around 15 questions. And for financial institutions, it's a bit broad, and we have around 58 questions that they just have to attest yes or no. And then we have the financial information section, where now we put information like your annual reports. So this is for financial institutions, and then we have management accounts for your corporates and SMEs, and even bank statements. And with that, this leads us to the next section, where I will show you the MANSA onboarding mandatory fields. So for MANSA onboarding, you can see where we have depicted all. This is information that is provided by all classes. So the 3 classes that we have are the SMEs, the corporates, and the financial institutions. So all entities, they give us registration certificate and details, and then the key contact person. That is a very key enabler for every profile, because we want people to be able to reach out directly to you. So when we get the key contact person and the company contacts, we also put that on the platform. And then we also collect information like directors, management, shareholders, and the ultimate beneficial owners, the UBOs. And then, like I said earlier, we also collect information about products and services. That is for all classes. And then the compliance questionnaire that I talked about, with the different classes of questions among SMEs, corporates, and financial institutions. So where it then differs is where we now have like an SME, because we understand SMEs, they are not able to give us annual audited reports. So we have relaxed the requirements for them a bit, so they can give us management accounts, something like your profit and loss and balance sheet. And then also they can give us a bank statement if they don't have the management accounts. So this then differs with your corporates, because we also understand that corporates, some are big, they are audited, so they give us the annual reports, and they can also give us the management reports as well, but they don't give us the bank statement because they are corporates. But also what is different between corporates and SMEs, that for corporates, they also need to give us the object of establishment. So this can be something like your memorandum and articles of association. If it's a company, if it's a trust account, then you're giving us a trust deed. If it's a partnership entity, then they are giving us the partnership deed, which is the object of establishment. for that entity. And then for financial institutions, that's where we have a lot of requirements there. So they will also give us the object of establishment, just like the corporates. And then also on top of that, we also need the anti-money laundering and anti-bribery and corruption policies to be put on the platform. And then we also need their license, which is the bank license, a license that is showing that they are also license to do the business that they say that they are doing. So it can be a bank license or an operating license where it's different. Maybe it's an insurance company. They'll give us the operating license, which is an insurance license. And then also for financial institutions, because of the nature of their business, we also request that they also give us a tax certificate. And then also they just give us the annual reports. So they don't have an option to give us management reports or even bank statements. They just give us the annual reports because they are institutions that are audited. Okay, so moving forward, whilst we have onboarded these profiles on the platform, what are we really trying to achieve? What we are trying to achieve is that MANSA can be used by entities that are coming to the platform for them to make investment decisions. So here, entities or even individuals come to the platform and then they are looking for companies that they can invest in. So with MANSA, it's just simple. It's simple. One click, they view the entity, and then if they like what they've seen on the platform, then they are reaching out to you as an entity, and then they are telling you, we would want to do cross-border trade with you. If it's trade, as shown on option 3. If they want to do financing, then they are going to come and say, okay, so we see that you have these products that they are doing, and we would want to extend a line of financing to you. Or if it's just investment, they're just coming and say, we want to put equity investment, or we just want to also give you some debt to increase your operations. And then also, most importantly, for some of our entities, they also use the platform to do evaluation. So that's your KYC and CDD evaluations about the entities, and then they can now get to do business with them after confirming that these entities, they are KYC verified. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So MANSA Digital Initiative, I think I had MANSA mentioned earlier that it was endorsed by the African Union as Africa Swap for due diligence. So now we have extended that to the Afro-Caribbean region. So for our banks and financial institutions, they can use MANSA to do customer profiling. They can also do smooth onboarding of customers. Why? Because they don't need to go asking for a lot of information from customers, but once a customer comes and they are on the platform, they can now access that information from that customer on the platform, and they can onboard easily. And then also those entities, they can do initial and periodic CDD reviews. So this then now depends on the entity in question. So the initial review is when they are onboarding, and maybe the periodic CDD reviews, they are going to use them according to their own internal policies, where maybe they're going to say this customer is very low risk, so we will come back to this customer after 1 year. And then if it's medium risk, maybe they might say we are going to come back and do this review after 6 months. And then if it's maybe high risk, they'll say we are going to come back and do this CDD review after 3 months. So it then depends with their own internal policies. Also, as alluded to earlier, you can also use the platform to do PP sanctions and adverse media screening using our AML CFT managed services. And I think Kamo will speak more about that shortly. And then for corporates and SMEs, you can also use the platform for initial and periodic CDD reviews, because you're going to go and see the other entities that you are dealing with, and then you can do the review maybe whenever you want to do a cross-border transaction, or maybe whenever you feel like there's doubt, you then go back and then you check if the information is still accurate. And then also this can assist with the potential expansion of trade. So the potential expansion is now with all the entities that can come, and then they can tell you that we want to do business with you, we want to do cross-border trade with you. So the moment they see the entity there, and then they advise you that let's discuss something, then that's the potential expansion into other markets. And then also you can, I think that's a repetition, number 3. And then as well, you can use as a corporate and SME to do the PP sanctions and adverse media screening. So you can come on demand. If you have a specific entity that you want to review, you can come on demand and you ask us, please, would want to do a PP screening on this entity, or want to check if this entity has got sanctioned individuals. So we can do that for you. And we can also do the adverse media screening on any entity that you have in mind. So going on to the investors. So our investors, they then use this platform to mainly go to the pillar which is investment information. So they can access the investment promotion agencies, and then they can also go and ask questions. We know there are a lot of international business entry strategies. Someone can start with exporting, but probably you don't know how to export. That's where we also have those investment promotion agencies. And maybe sometimes you want to do licensing and you don't know how to do licensing in a particular state. That's also the use of those investment promotion agencies. So just like the FIs and the corporates, the investors can also use the platform to perform CDD and EDD on potential suitors for their funds. And then also they can access the economic data that we spoke about, information like the exchange rate, the inflation rates, the GDP, the distribution, the top traded products in a particular country as well. And then they can also stay informed about news and events and anything that is happening in Africa on trade and compliance. So those are some of the uses for our investors. So please allow me at this point to hand you over to my colleague Chirai, who will take us through the MANSA services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tatenda, and a very good morning to you all. Good afternoon, depending on where you're sitting. Let me just quickly take you through the MANSA managed services. I think from Head MANSA's opening remarks and from what Tatenda has provided, you can see that MANSA is actually developing on a daily basis to actually expand our product offering. The MANSA Digital Repository Platform, maybe to emphasize that for an entity to put its profile on the platform, it's actually and absolutely free of charge at the moment. So we are calling upon all entities in the Caribbean to actually come in your numbers and profile yourselves. Like the theme of this webinar is Go Global with MANSA. Once you put your profile on the MANSA Digital Repository Platform, you are essentially going global, because whoever wants to do business with the Caribbean will be able to identify you in line with your industry, your sector, as well as the services and products that you're actually offering will actually be put out there in the global world. We have noted, following several feedbacks from our various stakeholders, that there is need to actually value add upon the information that we collect on the platform, and also to provide related services, which speaks to know your customer and customer due diligence. So suppose today, if you are sitting in the Caribbean, you are saying, yes, you have the MANSA Digital Repository Platform, but I don't know really how exactly to carry out this customer due diligence for me to comfortably deal or invest with somebody who is sitting in an African state. How can I possibly have this value added confidence? This is where we have unveiled a suite of products or services that we call managed services, where we are actually hand holding you, actually trying to review that risk that comes up, or those opportunities that you might actually want to explore within specific entities in the African Afro-Caribbean space. So under managed services, we have got a tool that we call the MANSA AML screening tool. This screening tool, when you have a name that you want to check on, suppose you want to check on myself, Gamchirai Moyo, you will enter that particular name in the tool, and then the tool will do a screening or a search based on a database that would have been incorporated. And this database will expose if Gamchirai Moyo has got any issues that are questionable in terms of reputation, whether they are being flagged by media. This tool will be able to bring forward those issues, whether am I politically affiliated in one way or the other. The tool will also be able to pick up that based on a database that will be on the background of the screening tool. It will also be able to actually flash out any name. If Gamchiraimo is actually sanctioned, it will also be able to flash out. So how does this information support in terms of managed services. It will inform you what level of risk are you assuming if you actually want to deal with myself as Gamchirai Moyo. Allow me to say the tool, the MANSA Digital Repository Platform in its current state mainly focuses on African entities. Okay. However, these African entities also have got managers or the board as well as executives that are actually running it. So you are able through this tool to screen the entity itself, because some of these issues arise at entity level. You would also be able to screen the individuals actually that are behind the entity itself. How do you access these services? You can access these services on demand. That's like knocking at Afreximbank door to say, Mansa, can you please help me? I want to do investment or do trade with this particular entity. Can you please give me a report regarding their standing? And then based on this tool or information that we harness from this tool, we will be able to give you a due diligence report that's on managed services. Alternatively, if you are actually a customer onboarding entity and you want to directly tap into this tool, we will be able to extend the tool to you under a commercial agreement, and then you can use API to actually integrate this system, the managed services or the screening tool, to your own onboarding system, such that as you are onboarding your own clients in the Caribbean, in the Afro-Caribbean, you are able to actually assess the risk that come with the platform. So the system that we have covers 4 specific areas. That is customer screening at initial onboarding, as well as customer risk rating. The risk that a customer brings come from various places. It can come from the industry in which they are operating. If an entity is operating in minerals, whether it's gold, it's diamond, their risk is different from from a company that is operating in the manufacturing or service industry. So the tool actually takes account of those particular risks that come with the industry in which that particular company is actually operating. There is also what we call country risk. Each and every country has got a particular risk that is associated with, depending on the dynamics that come in that particular country. So all those elements and the individuals that we spoke about, the components of the individuals. So at the end of the day, with this sort of products, you are able to comfortably identify trading counterparties. And this is very, very important, especially when you talk about export imports. It's very important that at the end of the day, we develop trust amongst ourselves. And by virtue of being on the MANSA digital platform, one assurance that you have is that these entities have been verified. As you saw in the verification framework that was shared by Tatenda, when an entity puts its information, there is somebody or we have engaged or we would have engaged to actually verify the authenticity of that particular entity. So over and above having access to a continental, intercontinental due diligence platform, which showcases verified information, you can further actually be able to do customer due diligence using our managed services. And that will also include whether it's vessel or aircraft screening, watch list management, and this helps you to anticipate the risks that can come up with a counterparty or with a specific transaction. Moving to the next slide, let's talk about our white labeling. Please move the slide, Satenda. Can we move? Let's talk about our white labeling services. Our white labeling comes in 2 fronts. The MANSA Digital Repository Platform, which Tatenda presented on itself, is available for white labeling. So you can actually use the MANSA Digital Platform for customer onboarding, profiling your own customers in the 6 categories of information. So the platform is readily available. If you would want to use it, you just reach out to our offices, and then we will be able to develop and customize it into your own brand. In other words, you're taking the MANSA Digital Repository platform and put it in your own brand, XYZ Limited, and it has a face of your company. Same goes under the same second model under white labeling. We have got a number of African companies we have got ready for export products. I think we are going to hear from one of those companies today, ready for export products that can be exported to the Caribbean from Africa under a white labeled brand. So in other words, if you've got your own brand, you can develop it and be able to pick products in their varieties from Africa, and you assign your own brand, and you'll be able to sell under your own brand. So your brand can actually go global as well, and picking your supplies from the rest of Africa. Let's move to the next slide, please. Okay, so I've already spoken to the various benefits of white labeling. It is assumed that white labeling will actually rake in over $700 billion in the near future. And now let me speak about the MANSA curriculum. One issue that we have noted as we have gone around Africa is the need to build capacity among especially our small to medium enterprises. And we have not taken this for granted. This call to duty has not been taken for granted. We have taken bold steps to develop the MANSA curriculum. Under it, we have got 8 good modules that have been well thought, which we are bringing to the Afro-Caribbean community to say, for you to actually excel as a business, set up good corporate governance structures, set up a good compliance environment, and be able to trade with the rest of the world, you actually need to have a suite of the 8 modules, which we have looked at. So these modules, you can go to the next slide, Tatenda, speak to. There is a specific module which is dedicated to the MANSA Digital Initiative. We look at environmental issues, we look at international trade, managerial economics, strategy. Everything is actually encompassed, and especially the subject of management accounting, which is very important. If a business is to grow, it needs support from financial institutions. And we have seen a lot of our SMEs failing to unlock funding from would-be investors, bankers, and other readily available sources of funding, mainly because they cannot prove their track record. They do not keep proper accounting records. So we are, through the MANSA curriculum, we seek to upscale these skills amongst our various stakeholders through the MANSA curriculum. The MANSA curriculum is actually being outrolled in partnership with AFRACAD. AFRACAD is Afreximbank Academy. So it's actually live, and it's actually offering several courses, of which the MANSA curriculum will be one of the courses actually being pioneered through Afreximbank's own initiative. So let's talk more about the MANSA curriculum, and we will look forward to have inquiries around that and explore how we can build ourselves as Africans. The unique thing about the MANSA curriculum is that its message is actually Afrocentric. It's based on case studies that speak to our story as Africans, our compliance journey, why the de-risking, why the lack of funding, why all this grey listing that we see amongst African entities. So that story will actually be told through the MANSA curriculum, and we hope that we will be able to get, through the case studies, recommendations that will equip our own trade and the trade environment. We can move on to the next slide, please. Let me talk about our advisory, consultancy and advisory services. Based on our network of training and service providers, we also offer consultants and advisory services. And under this, we look at your environment initially to carry out a gap analysis. And based on that, we carefully go through what steps that are needed to actually address the gap that would have identified. We also develop policies, manuals, and charters, especially on the compliance arena in environmental issues, monitoring and evaluation issues. All those we actually have got arms that can actually support in terms of consultants and advisory. And we are not limited in scope. We have, to this extent, have had or extended services to financial institutions, to players in the energy, as well as construction sectors. So whatever sector you are in, we can actually come in and look at a specific area, assess the gap, and then take steps that actually would address these gaps and walk with you through the journey up to monitoring and evaluation until the gap is fully addressed or mitigated against. Well, let's move to the next slide, Chatenda. Okay, I think we've spoken around our advisory, consultants and advisory. Let me speak about the Afro-Caribbean Entity Identifier. For all entities that are onboarding the MANSA Digital Repository Platform, they are assigned what we call the Africa Entity Identifier. So the Africa Entity Identifier simplifies the world of customer due diligence and know your customer. You can imagine that across the globe, there are various languages, and in their writing forms, they come with asterisks and several connotations. So through a one unique ID, we simplify the various translations that come with our languages into an understandable format and identifiable format, which is then unique to your own entity. So there are several reasons why the Africa Entity Identifier was put in place. You would remember around 2008, there was a financial crisis, and the global financial crisis, which actually shook the financial markets. So one of the key shortcomings that were noted from assessment post the financial crisis assessment, it was noted that it was difficult to identify trading counterparties. So to that extent, the Financial Stability Board came up with a roadmap, which they actually published through a white paper in 2020. And through that roadmap, they saw that there was a need to assign unique identifiers to all entities for easy identification. So this roadmap actually is supposed to be fully implemented by 2027. And it is through this roadmap that we have seen the Financial Action Task Force, which is an intergovernmental body responsible for putting up money laundering laws as well as KYC laws, and they actually enforce them through grey listing or blacklisting. We have seen them now seeking to amend their recommendation 16, which speaks to transaction transparency. And in that amendment, they are actually going to make it mandatory for any cross-border payment to carry a unique ID. And through that consultative forum that they opened to the public, we have made representations as Afreximbank that we as Afreximbank, we already have our own unique ID that is poised or assigned to African entities. And the Africa Union, being one of the bodies that have endorsed the MANSA Digital Repository, also did write to the FATF to also specially mention the Africa Entity Identifier as one of the key IDs that will be required for any cross-border payment. So once that passes, you can see that having the Africa Entity Identifier will be very pertinent for any cross-border payment. Today, as we speak, all the profiles that have been onboarded the MANSA Digital Repository Platform have already been assigned with an Africa Entity Identifier, 24,000 plus profiles. So we call upon all the Caribbean entities to also come in your numbers and be prepared for the regulations that are actually coming to enforce this use. We can actually say through the Financial Stability Board's work, they have established a global legal entity identifier foundation called GLAIF. So at the advent of this journey, Glaive approached the Afreximbank MANSA to say, we see you have got this repository. Can we work together? I can actually say today, we are at step number 5 out of 6 to actually fulfill the requirements for being accredited to Glaive. So what this will do is that as Afreximbank, we will be able to issue the Africa Entity Identifier alongside the legal entity identifier, which is issued by Glaive. So we will map these two IDs together such that they will be usable globally together. So when you look at entity XYZ, you will be able to know this is their Africa entity identifier and this is their legal entity identifier. So we can move on. So it's very important for us to actually get around and be of MANSA verified and get our Africa entity identifier, and so also be able to unlock the several benefits that we are talking about, coming from ranging from trust, being a platform that is actually based on verified information. Their issues of trust will be addressed. The issues, the negative perception of doing business with Caribbean countries will actually be addressed. It will also serve in terms of compliance. It will also support in terms of quick onboarding of customers, as well as a tool for enhanced customer due diligence. Let's move to the next slide, Tatenda. So what have we also done is to say, in terms of onboarding the MANSA platform, Tatenda showed you what is mandatory for financial institutions, for corporates, as well as for SMEs. We have not stopped there. We have gone a step further to actually categorize our information on the MANSA platform into 5 tiers, starting from the lowest level, which is the bronze. So depending on the quality of information you have given us, your level of disclosure, you can find yourself under bronze. We also have got silver. So the more information you also contribute, you go to the next level, which is silver. You can migrate to gold, platinum, and diamond. And let me say, there are benefits and awards as you go up these tiers. So each tier will speak to the level of information you have given us. So in a normal scenario, we would expect an entity, once they come on board, to actually aspire. Suppose you come on board today and maybe you are ranked as silver or as bronze, we would expect you to aspire to move up the ladder from that level up until diamond. So there are clear steps on how your profile can actually migrate to that higher level. Let's move on, Tatenda, to the next slide. Okay, so this is the outlook of the MANSA platform in its field. Let me also say that to this tier approach, we have got a MANSA verification certificate. So once you are verified, you can flash around your certificate. It's a process for us to actually give you that accolade of having passed the MANSA verification processes. We give you that accolade and recognition through this certificate, which will come with special features, okay, to actually speak to the authenticity, credibility. So this certificate will serve as an attestation that indeed this is an authentic company which you can actually deal with. So measures we are putting in place to ensure that there will not be false duplicates and there will be a way of actually verifying authenticity of the certificates in their 5 tiers as per the platform presentations. I think, Tatenda, you can move to the next slide. Yes, I think allow me to land at this point in time and give the floor back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Moyo. I think I will take a question here now. I know we have Dr. Hafez up next, but I noticed that Alicia Smith, she's been very patient, so perhaps to break up the proceedings, I will allow her to ask her question. Alicia, can you go ahead? You've been granted access to speak. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, okay, we'll proceed then. Dr. Hafez from Taffy Healthcare. I understand you're a client, and perhaps it would be quite timely for you as a client to maybe unpack all of this and give us, I guess, a case study of how you've been able to leverage the platform. Go ahead, sir.
Dear distinguished attendees, panelists, and organizers, good morning or good evening according to your time. I wanted to express my pleasure to be among these reputable participants. Special thanks to MANSA, Afreximbank, and Caribbean Exports to invite me for this unique and very important webinar. As MANSA now focusing on white label, so we are going to talk and discuss white labeling in healthcare services. So let us to start nowadays. And let us to start from the organization of contract manufacturing. Contract manufacturing consists of 5 types of contracts, like white label, private label, or original equipment manufacturer, contract manufacturing organization, and tool manufacturing. Regarding to these types of contract, now we are going to focus on our topic here, which is white label. What does it mean by white label? Sure, we all know, according to white label for trading and manufacturer, white label products is a generic product that rebranded and sold by another company, which it is a product without a brand name that customized with the buyer branding. White label in healthcare services, it is the same, but actually as a healthcare service, it is just only as a service. So we are going to talk it we will talk about it in details. White label in healthcare service involves providing a generic healthcare service that can be rebranded and sold by another company under their own, which allow business to offer specialized healthcare services without any infrastructure investment. Next, please. White label in healthcare. White label in healthcare services, access to expertise. What are you going to do? What is the benefit? Benefit now, it is related to the white label in healthcare. Give us the chance to access to the expertise. Also, it reduces the costs for eliminate the need for significant upfront investment in infrastructure and technology. Faster time, which white label also reduce the time because actually the seller, consider it is the seller, he already has its infrastructure and also the tools and the consultant to do these services. Scalability, also white label allow healthcare providers to quickly scale this operation, expanding their reach and serving wide audience. Next, please. Next. Now we are talking about how we can implement white labeling in healthcare services. We will take a model like TAFI. TAFI is an integrated healthcare service consultant. So we'll take it as a model. So we'll go through the service of TAFI. TAFI provide 7 unique services like healthcare fundraising and investment management, under it feasibility study, investment consulting, and due diligence, project management, hospital design, medical equipment planning, hospital management, development, recruitment, quality, and marketing. Next. Pharmaceutical manufacturing consultancy, like development, expansion, marketing, and export. International services like treatment abroad, doctor training abroad, telemedicine, plus insurance consultation, and HIT, health informatics technology, like HIS, polyclinic system, like governmental system, healthcare big data, telemedicine, which also can be rebranded by the customer himself. Next, please. White labeling will take only will take 3 services from Ta'afi to talk about it, and the rest it will be by the same concept. So let us talk about white labeling in feasibility study related to the healthcare. You have to be involved partnering with consulting group to conduct a study under your own brand name. So what we are going to do, first of all, we have to identify research need. In your market, you have to research about what is the need in the market. So to determine the specific research question or objective to the study. Then partner with a research firm. Collaborate with a reputable research firm which has their own expertise and the relevant in this relevant area. Then customize the study. The reputable organization is going to prepare the study in partnership with you, and then review and analyze the result. By this way, actually, you already will be succeeded to get a reputable and very interested feasibility study. Next, please. So what is the benefit of white labeling in the feasibility study? First, it will reduce the cost. So it will lower the upfront investment in research infrastructure and personnel. Second, it will be faster time to the market. As we already mentioned, it accelerates research timeline and allowing for quicker decision making and action. Third one, it will be access to expertise, leveraging the knowledge and experience of specialized research firm. Customization, tailoring the study to specific need and align it with branding objectives. And by the end, you really will mitigate the risk by minimizing the risk association with the conducting in-house research by outsourcing to experienced providers. Next, please. So what we are going to consider for white labeling in the feasibility study, we have to search for a quality assurance. We have to provide this feasibility with quality assurance. Second, intellectual properties. We have to be safeguard intellectual properties rights through clear contractual agreement and data ownership. Data privacy and security. Verify the research firm implement robust data security measure to protect patient information and force confidentiality, maintain confidentiality of sensitive information and protect competitive advantage. Next, please. Example of white labeling in healthcare feasibility study. One, it is market research. So we have to assess the demand of new healthcare product or service in your area. Second, clinical trial feasibility study. Evaluate the feasibility of conducting a clinical trial for the new drug and or medicine. Health economic analyst, conducting a cost-benefit analysis of healthcare intervention, determining its economic value. Regulatory analysis, assessing, which it is the most important topic here, you have to assess the regulatory landscape for new health product or services, navigating approval process, because actually each country, it has their own strategy related to providing the drugs or devices in the market. So you have to be sure that you already met the regularity analysis and you are comply with this regulation. Second, please. Another service which is considered as a hospital design. So you have to be involved with partnering with design firm under your own brand. What is the benefit? Also, it will be the same like before, but here we will reduce the cost because we are going to avoid the high cost associated with hiring in-house design professionals. Second, access to expertise. Partner with specialized design firm already give you the access to go with the most famous and trusty professional experience here in hospital design. Customization, you have to tailor the hospital design to meet the unique need and preference of your institution. Plus time efficiency, which already accelerate the design process by leveraging the expertise and resources of the design firm. Next, please. So what is the benefit of white labeling in hospital design? First of all, it is improved patient experience, which already the patient experience already give you a good pronounced name regarding to their activity inside the hospital. So you already, as a mouse of word, it will increase the customer flow related to your organization. Second, enhanced efficiency, which optimized hospital layout and workflow, which can also improve the operational efficiency and reduce the cost, which it is something very important related to the hospital design, how you can also reduce the operational cost. Brand differentiation, a distinctive hospital design can create a unique brand identity and attract the patients. Next, please. White labeling in pharmaceutical manufacturing. We are going to talk about just only 3 items like generic drug development. Regarding to the new drug to be published in the market, it is protected by the patent itself. But these patents may be expired, maybe it will be expired after 3 years, 5 years, or anyhow. After that, you are allowed to produce the same product with the same formula, but by your name. So you can already do as an agreement with one of the best pharmaceutical manufacturer to start to do this product by your name. Next, please. So what's the benefit of white labeling in pharmaceutical manufacturing? First of all, as we already mentioned, it will be reduce the cost and faster time to the market expansion, and also risk mitigation. Next, please. So what is the key advantage of white label consultation services? Consider as healthcare services. We already gathered and recap all the benefit and advantage of this white label. One, it is reduced overhead cost because no need to invest in the market branding or infrastructure. Increase revenue, access to a wider market through partnership, and then faster time to the market, which already are going to launch your product and service in short time, because actually there is another big organization in your back. Scalability, easily expand your service offering. Like if you are going to establish a factory to manufacture like medicine product, you are going to provide 5 lines, 6 lines. But when you are going to do white labeling, you can do this labeling for 20 or 30 products. And by the end, you already mitigate the risk because the partner has good experience and he already faced all these troubles before and this risk. So he can advise you how to avoid this risk in the future. Next, please. Consideration of white labeling in healthcare. You have to be sure that your product has a quality assurance, and you are going to partner with one of the providers who has a good and reputable and quality assurance process. Then it is very important to be sure that your product are compliant with the regulation itself in your area. Data security and the privacy, and then brand reputation. Select the label partners. He has good experience, past experience, and he has a wide and variety of the consultants to provide you for your what you are looking for for these services in healthcare. Next, please. Thanks for your time, and I'm happy to be among these reputable attendees. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hafez. I know we have a few questions in the Q&A. Maureen, is Maureen still here? Yes, and Tatenda. But I would like ideally for the participant to ask the question. So I'm gonna try and see if I can get Telly the floor. I just think it would be more dynamic. So I'm gonna try to promote to panelists, Telly, and if you can take the floor, please go ahead. In the meantime, I saw a question here about the feasibility study. So Tatenda, would you like to take that question? Does the MANSA product offer feasibility studies?
Okay, maybe allow me to
Go ahead.
yes,
sure.
thank you. Allow me to come. Okay, so I think this has to do with the presentation from Dr. Tafi that has just come through.
Sure,
And
no problem.
yes, and maybe we will allow him to speak to the level of feasibility study he's spoken to. Thank you.
Regarding to the feasibility study, actually Afrexim already doing a preparation team, and this preparation team, project preparation team, which allow to do the feasibility study, and also recommend consultant to do this feasibility study. So regarding to the white label for this feasibility study, actually also you can do as an organization, you can do this feasibility study in partnership with another entity already has this experience, and also you can go and seek the help from Afrexim to support you regarding to this feasibility also.
Can I come in? We actually have what we call project preparation unit. Can somebody mute? We have what we call the Afreximbank project preparation unit, and they actually hold hand our different entities, particularly the SMEs who want to do certain projects in all aspects of Africa's economy, Afro-Caribbean economy, and for them to, especially where there are knowledge gaps, they will help them to put the project together and of course advise them on the way forward. And if need be, there's need for that feasibility study, they will also handhold them and introduce them to the entity that will support them in doing that. Dr. Tafi is actually in the medical line, and one of the things he requested is for us to be part of this forum as a MANSA agent and see how he can actually penetrate the Caribbean economy. Probably there will be Caribbean entities who are in that sector of the economy who want to import medical facilities in terms of equipment and the rest of them to facilitate the distribution of medical facilities in the Caribbean region. So we thought he will be helpful, and given the type of forum we are having today, there might be entities, the Caribbean entities who are interested in that sector of the economy, because we know healthcare is very important.
Great, thank you, Maureen. Telly, can you speak now if you would like to take the floor?
Yes, I can speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question was, I was interested, thank you for the presentation. So my question really was, with regards to the ESG component, I saw many aspects of the benefits of MANSA when it comes to the different tiers of governance, but I wasn't quite clear on how MANSA can support the environmental component and the social dimension as well. How can that be adequately captured? Because from what I understand, MANSA is pretty much deals with KYC AML issues. So when you're adding these additional environmental and social dimensions, how is that captured? And does under the environmental, would we be able to do climate risk screening? Or, I just wanted to get some clarity there. And then my second question is for Dr. Hafiz. So I understand the presentation on the white labeling, but what I'm trying to understand is all those white labeling opportunities and services. Is that something that is with the MANSA product or with Afrexim as additional services? I did hear Maureen mention something about a project preparation facility. So I just need that clarification. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Valerie. I think let me start with the last question. Yes, what is happening is that Tafi is a big medical institution in Egypt. So he has been actually operating and is an agent of MANSA. Being an agent is that he has onboarded and he is bringing all his customers to onboard on MANSA as well. And of course, giving that exposure for them to leverage the banks or the facilities. And what is happening is that the Afreximbank project preparation unit is a support unit. Once there is an entity, if you are an SME, a corporate, or even an institution, a financial institution, who is actually seeking for one support or the other in terms of for you to be able to access funding, probably in the bank or probably to have access to other member states like the Caribbean states and of course the other African states. You may wish to know the environment, to know how can I get into this place. And if you have to go there, what are the policies that are actually observed in the Caribbean, for instance, the Caribbean states, for instance, you are new entrants, you want to know more about the Caribbean state, you come to Afreximbank, you say, I have this project. I don't know how to package it. I don't know where in the Caribbean states I will go or where in the African states. The project preparation unit will help you to prepare it, package it, and then advise you on how to go about it. Not only, they don't stop there, they can go ahead to actually fund the feasibility study and fund the project itself. That's in form of loan, by the way, not a grant, in form of loan. So this is how it's being done. I don't know if it answers that second question. The first question is talking about the ESG. Yes. MANSA, if you had seen our presentation, I think that's a place we alluded to that fact. The environmental, social, and governance, which is the in thing is the talk show today and is the talk of the global economy today. We see what the climate change is doing, how serious the COP29, and of course, how serious it's becoming. Even the experiences we are having, not only in Africa, in the Caribbean, in all parts of the world. So MANSA is taking that as well as a challenge to say, okay, the bank has put this project in place. The bank is supporting this ESG. What role can MANSA play in that region when it comes to ESG? Number one, we look at the type of entities that onboard the MANSA, looking at the type of business you do. Is it a high risk? If you're in the oil and gas, we see it as a very high risk jurisdiction. What are you doing to your environment? Probably If you are drilling, you are doing an offshore, you are doing a downstream, you are doing an upstream. Where are you in that particular space when we talk about oil and gas? Then we see how we can support you. You as an entity may not have the knowledge of saying, I'm operating in this land, I'm going to displace certain communities. What do I do in terms of Medicare, in terms of schools, in terms of financial support, so that they are not hit by my presence in that region? So that is one aspect of the role MANSA plays, by making sure that you understand your environment, and of course the type of business you are doing will help you to know, is it a high risk? Is it a low risk? Is it a medium risk jurisdiction? So type of business. So this is the role we play. And of course, for the social responsibility, we know that if you have to displace this entity, what are you providing for them? What support? Are you giving an alternative location? Are you going to build medical facilities to ensure that they are not affected by your presence there? And of course, the governance aspect of it. Are you prepared? Are you fully prepared? Because there are these elements that you have to take into consideration. So these are all the type of consideration MANSA give to. So if you are a business, you are registered on MANSA, because once you're on board on MANSA, we must know your type of business so that we'll be able to actually direct you or support you where it concerns the business deliverables. So this is what we do actually, and we advise. So I don't know if this answers your question.
Thanks so much, Maureen. We have a few questions. I know we're coming close on time. In fact, we were a little over, but I just wanted to give the chance for you or other colleagues. There are a couple questions about accessing the MANSA curriculum. Is there a cost? How do you enroll? So maybe you could take these in one shot.
Yeah, sure. I will give Gamu that floor, because we are working with our AfraCard, which is the Afreximbank Academy. We have done the first masterclass during our Canex forum in Algeria. And we are rolling it out because of our experiences with our different stakeholders, particularly the SMEs and the corporates. So Gamu can shed more light on because she is the one driving that. Yes, Gamu.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much, Head MANSA. So for the MANSA curriculum, initially we are rolling out as a virtual. You can actually access this wherever you are, okay? And AfraCard will be managing in terms of there are some modules which carry with them, like the compliance, carry with them a examination. All will be actually managed through AfraCard. So in terms of what can actually be consummated at the moment under the MANSA curriculum, we have the management accounting module, which is actually rolled out. We also have got the MANSA digital initiative module, which is actually rolled out. The rest of the modules, out of the 8 modules, are actually going to be published through the AfraCard portal. So there is a portal that is available for AfraCard. It's hosted by the bank, and then you'll be able to actually tap into the MANSA curriculum this way. We can actually give more detail. You reach out to us on MANSA Business and we'll give more detail.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Gamu. Maybe a more practical question. One is saying that he's had a look at the website, but he's not clear, 100% clear for how a tech company can perhaps leverage the website. So maybe one of the colleagues can, just talk about the entry point and maybe 2 or 3 highlights of why the platform is useful to do business and how maybe a tech company can access or leverage the platform.
Yeah, maybe I can take that as well. The platform itself provides a marketplace. Okay, so depending on what exactly this tech company is actually selling, or the services they are proffering, whether it's software development or it's hardware pieces, because every business literally in the world today, they use one piece of technology. So we would take that all companies on the MANSA platform would be potential buyers of your products. So just coming on the MANSA platform, getting these contacts across, you can actually advertise your products. We have the news and events section, which also gives those capabilities for you to flash out what you are in. And just by onboarding the MANSA platform itself, you have a section where you actually list all your products to say this is the sector, this is the industry, to give you that global visibility, hence our theme to say go global with MANSA. So I can actually say that all the for a tech company, actually, all the companies on MANSA are your potential buyers. If it is software development, if it is hardware that you're selling, they are potential buyers. So it's the first place of trusted customers.
Great. Thank you so much, Gamu, for that. I think that really would having, just situated it as a marketplace that may be a little more accessible to some of the participants. At this time, I will just see if there are any more pressing questions. I know that there are questions about are you open to do business in St. Kitts? Obviously, it's an open platform. The CARICOM is now the sixth partner or the sixth region of Africa. So again, these initiatives are really to hone in how Caribbean and Africa are enhancing the trade and investment relations. Can you speak about the code itself, the unique identifier? How does a company receive that? Is it just on signing up to the platform?
Absolutely. Once you sign in, you are assigned that code. And that code is like the passport to trade and investment between the Afro-Caribbean regions. So we are actually trying to get it enforced for cross-border payment and transparency. Today, the PAPS uses it. So if you are not MANSA verified with your AEI code, you will not you cannot do any business with PAPS. And just to mention that for you to onboard on MANSA is free. You don't need to pay any fee. So you just go there, put your information. We can also handhold you, support you to onboard on MANSA. And I believe that is the passport to trade and investment. It's a big, big win for you. So I want to emphasize on that.
All right. Yeah, so that helps, Maureen. So thank you for that. I know it's almost 7 p.m. For you guys. So at this point, if maybe Tatenda, if you have an info email or somewhere that colleagues can drop an email if there are any more questions that they have, maybe
And then
somebody
post
on
it.
your team, and please
Post
do.
it immediately, that
Right.
please.
Into the chat or the Q&A.
Yes.
So that those on the call, if there are any more questions, they would be able to reach out to you. If you can post the link as well. Of course, Caribbean Export is always available to partner with the Afreximbank, and just to signal that we will have a post-event survey that will be launched. So if you have any more questions or would like to see some more information about the products, we would be happy to facilitate that. And we, of course, we remain available. We would just like to signal an upcoming, another information session that we're working with the bank on. This is the Intra-Africa Trade Fair. It is in partnership with the African Union and the Africa Caribbean.
Absolutely.
AFCFTA.
And Afro-Caribbean.
Right. And so just another avenue for Caribbean and African companies to do business. This event will be held in Algeria in September 2025. And of course, we are working with the bank to help mobilize exhibitors from the Caribbean to participate in that event. So I'm just signaling what we will, that in a few weeks you will see some information to invite you to join us for one of those sessions. And of course, just subscribe to Caribbean Exports mailing list, and you will be apprised of all the activities that we have coming up. So thank you, everybody, Raymond, Maureen, Tatenda, Gamu, Dr. Hafez, and of course, colleagues Michaela and Shakela from our end. Thank you so much for your assistance. I think that's it from me. Signing out.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We really appreciate the opportunity. And of course, just to again emphasize that for the MANSA curriculum, you receive a certificate on completion of the modules. So it's like you take the exams and you are certified. So it's another important information I want to give out to our partners here. So we look forward to this partnership, and we appreciate Caribbean Exports very much for actually making this work. I know, Natasha, while we were in Bahamas the last time we spoke on how we can move ahead. We signed an MOU with OECS, but not much has happened. So CARICOM has actually been supportive as well. We were to be with you guys last year. Incidentally, we could not, but I believe this is the time for us to actually emphasize and forge ahead with this relationship. So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you so much, Maureen. So we will definitely be in touch, and if we don't speak before the end of the year, happy holidays. It's already
No, we will speak, Natasha. Don't say that.
It's already that time. Can you believe it? Well, we will be in touch, and have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you, and enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Dr. Fires, bye.